Okay, so like I said before, my name is Jenna and I work in Pitt Housing. Um, I am going to be hopping on to the PowerPoint now, so I'm going to share my screen. But feel free to drop any messages or questions into the chat as we go along so we can answer them at the end. And if somebody could just let me know if you can actually see my screen whenever I share it, so you're able to see the PowerPoint, that would be great. Let's see here. Are you able to see my screen yet?
We can see it.
Awesome, thank you. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Okay, so actually gonna pull this over here. Okay, so just an overview of what we're going to be going over this evening. I'm not sure if we have students on the Zoom or parents, but either way, we're going to go over the welcome letter and some upcoming deadlines that are approaching. We will do a brief building overview, so just some insight on the accommodations that you will have as a first-year student. We will look over meal plans. We'll go over some resources that are available to you as an incoming Pitt student, and then there will be time at the end for Q&A. Okay, so first and foremost, if you are a student, an incoming first-year student, you should be checking your Pitt email address because that is how Housing and Panther Central will be corresponding with you from here going forward. And this is how you're going to get your welcome email to Pitt Housing. So if you've already paid your admissions deposit, the next step is going to be paying your housing deposit and completing the housing application. So within that email that you get to your Pitt email address, it will have the deadline for you to complete your housing application. And as of right now, everyone's deadline is May 1st. So there's still plenty of time to complete your application to make sure that you're able to keep your guarantee as a first-year student. And as we approach the May 1st deadline, we will start sending out reminders as well, like, hey, we see that you paid your deposit, but you haven't completed, or hey, we see that you haven't paid your deposit yet. You need to do that first, and then you can complete the housing application. Once you complete the housing application, you'll get an email that says, like, thank you for applying, and it will also have a reminder in the email to submit your photo for your Panther ID. So your deadline to do that is also the deadline for your housing app. So that should also be May 1st. And your Panther ID is going to be your gateway to campus. So you'll be swiping in and out of the residence hall that way. It'll have your meal plan on it. It's how you'll access the bus system. It really is like your gateway to campus. So you'll want to make sure to pre-submit your photo so that you can either pick it up during arrival or we'll mail it to you before arrival. So on your housing application, you'll fill out the contract, but you'll also have some questions on the app, like, do you have a roommate preference? And also, are you interested in a living learning community? The great news is your housing app is due May 1st, but you don't actually have to make a decision for roommates or LLCs until June 1st. So once you complete your housing application, you shouldn't ever have to go back into the application to do anything. I will show you later on in the PowerPoint how to access your preferences to update them so you never have to access the application again. So if by chance between May 1st and June 1st you happen to find a roommate or you gain interest in an LLC with your major or just interest-based LLC, you do have that entire month to go and update your preferences and complete any supplemental application at that time. So this grid can be found on our website. It just kind of overviews the features of our first year accommodations. So these are the options that you will have as an incoming first year student. And what I like to do is if a student asks me what they should put down as their preference, I start to ask them questions like what is most important to them. So do they want to have a roommate, or would they feel most comfortable living in a single? If they are interested in having a roommate, do they want one roommate, or do they want a couple of roommates, like suite style? Are they interested in a communal bath, or do they only want to live in a space that has a semi-private bath, which would be suite style? Are they looking for lower campus, maybe upper campus? And then priorities, like, do they need air conditioning? Do they want to be in the quad? Things like that. And this grid does a really great job at outlining those questions. So our suite style housing is going to be Bruce or Sutherland. And then all of our other buildings are singles or doubles. So we will not have triples and quads in Holland next year, and we will not have triples in Nordenberg. Instead, those buildings will be singles and doubles. And then towers A and B are doubles, and our single accommodations are going to be Tower C and Lothrop. So if you have a student that is, worried about their preferences, nothing is guaranteed whenever they complete their housing application, but we do a really good job at trying to make sure that we put them in something that they at least preferenced. So that's why we require 3 to 5 preferences. So if by chance Tower A is not an option, maybe Tower B is the next best thing because it's right next door and it's the same style building and you still have one roommate. So we do ask those questions, and we do have students put more than one preference on their application so that we are able to accommodate at least one of their requests. So just a brief overview of our meal plans. It might be a little bit daunting to pick your meal plan this early. However, what you put on your application is not necessarily what you need to keep whenever you arrive in August. You do have the opportunity to change your meal plan all the way up until add drop, which I think is 3 weeks into the semester. So we usually give our students enough time to accommodate themselves on campus to kind of figure out what their schedule looks like. How often are they actually going to the dining hall? How often are they going to maybe a stop and go spot instead, to kind of figure out what meal plan is best for them. And if by chance your meal plan or your schedule changes for your spring term, you do have the option to change your meal plan starting in November all the way up until add drop of the spring term as well, to change it for spring. So these are the meal plan options that are going to be available for next year. And some things that I like to highlight are the unlimited means that you can swipe in and out of the all you care to eat facilities like the Eatery or the Perch multiple times a day to use those swipes. The numbers that are associated to the meal plans, like the unlimited plus 300, the 300 is dining dollars. So those are used at the on-campus dining facilities like Taco Bell and Chick-fil-A and any of the places that are in the Cathedral or in the Union. So those dining dollars are associated to those spots. But you can also pick up a coffee at Einstein's and things like that using those dollars as well. A meal exchange is something that is actually brand new this year, and it's to basically use a swipe that you would be using at the Eatery or the Perch. You're able to use at one of those other places that I had mentioned, like Taco Bell or Chick-fil-A. So maybe instead of paying $8 for a chicken sandwich meal at Chick-fil-A, you decide to use your meal exchange for the day instead. So you just swipe your card and you get the full meal for using the swipe, and you don't have to use any dining dollars. So that is what a meal exchange is. And if you feel as if those numbers, like the 300 and the 150, are a little low, we do offer additional dining dollar options later in the term. So whenever students are most likely needing more dining dollars, we do offer the opportunity to add more to the plan later in each term. Okay, so this is the first year portal, which I referenced before, and I will actually bring it up so you can see the live portal here in a minute. But this is where the student should be accessing their housing application after they paid their deposit. So step one is applying for the housing, and then step two would be if you need to update your preferences, that's what you'll do there. And then if you indicate interest on your application for an LLC, this is also where you will complete the supplemental application for the LLC that you had interest in. So I'll bring that up here in a second. Some resources that are available for everyone. Obviously our website, which is pc.pitt.edu. And once you open up the web page, you can choose the first year student option, and it will direct you to our selection central for our first year students, which will have plenty of resources for them for how to complete the housing application, deadlines, information on more Zoom sessions, building options, things like that. That's all on there. Panther Central is also a really great resource. They are open 24/7. You can call, email, or chat with them. And if they are not able to answer your question, they will connect with myself so that we make sure to answer your question correctly. And then if you feel as if you have a question that would benefit the larger good, you can also sign up for an upcoming Zoom session. As of right now, they are going to be every Tuesday from now until at least May 1st. And this is our latest session that we offer. Next week, we start back at the noon time. So we rotate between 12, 2, 4, and 6. So I am going to open it up for Q&A as soon as I'm done showing you all the portal. So just give me 1 second. Okay. Are you able to see the housing portal currently, or are you still seeing my PowerPoint? Can someone just give me a thumbs up? Awesome. Okay, so this is the housing portal for our guaranteed first year students. This is that button before that I was mentioning. If you need to complete your housing application, you'll click there. But then once you complete your housing application and you want to update a preference, you'll click this button here. And this will pull up all of the information that you indicated on your application. So this is myself. I completed a first year application, although I'm not a first year student. And you can see that I answered a couple of questions up here. If I'm interested in 12-month housing, if I'm interested in the Resident Student Association, my LLC request right now is nursing, and my assignment priority right now is my roommate request, and I will actually go over that in a minute. You have your room preferences here, so you can update this anytime. And then my roommate matching questions are here, and then I will go over roommate groups down here. So assignment priority. We ask this question because we do have students that apply for LLCs and then also submit a roommate request. And we ask them to basically tell us if they were accepted into the LLC and they did not get their roommate and there was no room for their roommate, would they rather be accepted into the LLC without their roommate, or would they want to be released from the LLC to live with their roommate somewhere? But if you are someone who did not apply for an LLC or have a roommate request, you can just put not applicable there. We do have cases where there is enough room in the LLC for roommates to be pulled in, or even better, the roommate has also applied for the LLC. So maybe you both get accepted in. So you're kind of getting both the roommate and the LLC, which is great. But that is what the assignment priority question is asking. Here is where you can update your room preferences. So maybe I want to live in a Lothrop single as my fourth preference. Maybe as a high school student, I haven't really been staying up late, but in college I want to stay up late. So I'm gonna, update my preference here. And then roommates. So this is where you'll want to create your roommate group if you have a single student or a group of students that you want to live with. In order for us to get your request, someone needs to be designated as the leader of the group, and they'll need to send the invitations to their anticipated roommates. So I'm going to create my group. you can see here that I'm the leader, and I'm going to invite my friend Holly to live with me. So there's Holly. I'm going to select Holly, and then you can see that now Holly is invited to be a part of my roommate group. Now, all that Holly has to do is go into the same page, and instead of remove on her page, it'll say accept, and she'll click accept, and then our status will be updated to leader and member. And that's how we know whenever we're doing assignments that you are a 2-person group. And then maybe the both of you are preferencing like these buildings up here. So we would try to put the 2 of you into one of those buildings that you preferenced. So that's kind of how the roommate groups work. As a first-year student, you're able to invite all the way up to 7 students because we do have 8-person suites in Sutherland. So we do have groups that do submit requests that are that large. But then you also don't have to put in a roommate request at all. We do accommodate single students who are looking for random roommates, or even single students that want to live in a single. So just to keep that all in mind. And then this is also where you can update your meal plan options here. So, and you can change this as many times as you want. One more thing about the roommate group I will say is that you can only be a part of one group. So say that myself and Holly met someone else to be a part of their group, we would then need to come in here and I would need to remove Holly as my group member, and I would have to leave my group in order to go in and accept an invitation to someone else's group. So all of these preferences need to be completed by June 1st because that is when we start our assignment process. So we don't even look at our housing applications until June 2nd. So our deadline is firm June 1st. Make sure you have all of your updates completed because on June 2nd is when we start sorting and assigning in order to make sure that our assignments go out on time in mid-July. So at this time, I will open it up for Q&A and I will stop sharing my screen so that I can actually open up the chat. Oh, thanks for letting me know that you saw the portal before. But does anybody? Okay, so the first question is, what advice would you give to a student who's very nervous about being matched with a roommate who might not be accepting of them? So my first advice, I guess my first point of advice would be, or a follow-up question would be, do you have a roommate in mind that you would want to live with? And if not, are you willing to look for a roommate between now and June 1st to maybe find somebody that you're compatible with so that you are feeling a little less nervous to getting a random roommate? We do have a third-party resource that we use called RoomSync that once you complete the housing application, you'll start getting emails in a couple of weeks to go on and create an account with them. And that is a way to connect with other first-year students that are also looking for a roommate. And their questions are a little bit more in depth than the ones that we use on our housing application. And you have the opportunity to chat with other people. You can match with somebody. I believe that there's like a percentage of like best match, excuse me. Best match versus not a best match. You have the opportunity to meet somebody that way. But overall, if you are nervous about being randomly assigned a roommate that might not be accepting of you, I would connect with the housing team at Pitt, maybe send Panther Central an email so that we can best suit your accommodations to put you somewhere that you're most comfortable living. Because we don't want you to be nervous coming into this. We have 4,000 first-year students that we bring in every year, and we really want them to feel as comfortable as possible. So if there's anything that we can do before you arrive to make you feel a little bit more comfortable coming to campus, we'd be happy to do that for you. Victoria asked if we are going on one of the in-person tours that are happening in April, will those include housing? I'm actually not sure of this question because we have not connected with admissions as far as their tours. I know that they still have tour rooms set up on campus, but I'm not sure if they've been going into them because of COVID and bringing in students or outsiders into the residence halls. So I would maybe email Panther Central that question and they can get you the answer as far as will housing be as a part of that tour. Lisa asked, do students accepted into the Honors College automatically get into the LLC? And the answer to that is no. I believe that the Honors College prioritizes students who are accepted into the Honors College to be a part of the LLC, but obviously there's only a certain number of spaces in the LLC, so we can't really say that they will automatically get into the LLC, especially if they do have to turn people away. But I do know that they prioritize Honors College students to be a part of the LLC. I will say to make sure that the student applies for the LLC if they want to live in the LLC, because we do have students who assume that by being accepted in the Honors College, it automatically completes that application for them. And unfortunately, it doesn't. It's a two-step process. So once you're accepted in the Honors College, complete your housing application and then complete the Honors app as well. Isabella asked, where is the housing application located? Whenever I click the portal, it takes me directly to Pitt Pay. So it will direct you to Pitt Pay every time you're trying to access the housing application. If you've already paid your deposit, you'll click in the top right-hand corner in Pitt Pay, make deposit, and it would show a $0 balance. And then you'll just click continue there. But if you've not paid your deposit yet, you'll pay the $325 and then it will let you click continue. But once you pay it once, you'll only just have to click continue every time to access the portal. And then you'll just click that you're a guaranteed first year student and it'll take you to the application. Samuel, I'm not sure I understand your question about the applying for the LLC. Which LLC are you referencing when you say, would I still be able to apply for the LLC as a business honors student if I didn't room in Bruce? Are you talking about the business LLC or the honors LLC? Another question that came in, do students get accepted into the LLC, into LLC housing? Or if students are accepted into LLC housing, will they be notified before July? Also, do I know how many students get accepted into the business LLC? I do not know how many students get accepted in the business LLC because that can change on a year-to-year basis depending on how many applications they get. So I do know that it's in Bruce Hall and they do have the capacity to fill the entire building, but there are years that they have to turn students away, and also due to COVID, there were a few less applications last year, but it made for perfect timing considering we were able to space students out a little bit as well. So I can't really tell you how many students get accepted into the business LLC. We do have our building occupancy numbers on our website and on that grid that I had showed earlier, which is on our website. And you will not find out if you are accepted into LLC housing until after your notice of assignment goes out. And that's because we want students to find out where they're living, and then they'll say, like if you were accepted into the business LLC, you would get your notice of assignment first saying, welcome to Bruce. And then to follow up that message, it would be a message from the LLC saying, welcome to the business LLC. So keep in mind that we never really want to post our buildings associated to our LLCs online because those can change as well, depending on demand and obviously certain circumstances. Being in a pandemic, we don't really know we didn't really know what this year was going to look like, but we're hoping that things can essentially go back to as close to normal as possible for the fall. Question, do buildings that house an LLC only house the LLC? If not, how many rooms roughly are available for other students? I can't actually answer that question because we have buildings that are fully LLC, and then we have buildings that are part LLC and part full residence halls for regular communities. So I can't really give that information. Just keep in mind that we do have 4,000 incoming first year students, maybe even a little bit more than that. And the majority of our campus is non-LLC students. So the majority of our halls are regular student communities. Okay, Samuel. So you can still apply for the business LLC, but if you're not interested in living in the LLC, I would connect you to the LLC partner that oversees the business LLC to see how we can get you involved in the LLC if you don't want to live in the building that the LLC is in. So that we can, I know students that live in other buildings that are still involved in LLCs. It's happened many times. So if you aren't interested in living in that building, we may be able to get you connected and still involved with the LLC. Parker, if you could, so the question is, when he fills out the application, it takes him to Pitt Pay, however, it says that he does not owe any money, even though he has not paid the deposit yet. I would send an email to Panther Central to make sure that you're set up appropriately so that we make sure that your deposit is paid. And maybe we can actually go on to see if your deposit was actually paid already or if it's waived for some reason, maybe scholarship, financial aid, or athletics. So feel free to reach out to PC and we can connect with you to see what might be going on there. Victoria asked, is there a date or rough estimate of how soon assignments will be sent out? Assignments are typically sent out in mid-July. So we really try not to put like a hard deadline on it because we are assigning all 4,000 first year students the entire month of June. We don't assign anybody before then. So I'm sorry, you have to be patient, but we give you plenty of time to prep for arrival and to also connect with your roommate if needed to make sure that you are coordinating things to bring to your space. And a follow-up question to that is, if somebody has no idea what meal plan to go with, is it a good idea to go with the biggest one and then size down in the spring if I need to? So I would say just go with your gut feeling at this point. If you want to go with the largest one, you have all the way up until 3 weeks into the semester to actually change your meal plan. So if by chance you choose the largest one, which is the unlimited with a 300, and maybe you're a local student who finds themselves going to different places on the weekends and you're not really staying on campus, so that one doesn't really make sense for you, maybe the weekday unlimited is the best option. So you can always change your fall meal plan all the way up until add drop of the fall term. And then even if that meal plan isn't the one for you, you can change it again before the spring term between like November and January. So there is not a lot of pressure to choose the right meal plan at this time. So I would just say pick whatever one you want right now, and then if it doesn't work out for the start of the fall term, you have plenty of time to change it. Okay, so while we are waiting here, if there's any other questions, please drop them in there. I am gonna drop in the link to the first year student page on our Panther Central website to make sure that everyone has that as a resource. Okay, so there are a couple more questions that came in. I mentioned that LLC buildings can change. So if I indicated my LLC preference, what building should I request? If you you can request any building that you want as your preference. If you get accepted into LLC, that automatically trumps your building request. So you'll get pulled into the LLC. So there's a reason why we don't put down a lot of the LLC's locations on our website, and that's because they can change depending on the demand and the number of applications each year. So, apply for that LLC and put down your top 3 preferences, and then if you get accepted in the LLC, you're going to have a great time regardless, and you'll get pulled into that LLC no matter what building that is. So don't try to figure out what building the LLC is in. Just put down what buildings you would want to live in if you did not get into the LLC. Question, are the suites in Bruce now 2 people or are they still 4 people? So I will say this, all of our housing updates for this current year that we are living in right now, so the 2020-2021 academic year, our housing updates based off of suite size and room size for occupancy has been updated by the CMRO, which is the group of individuals that decide what's best as far as like COVID response and things like that. So, and it has worked out great for us. So the reason why we, so Bruce is still full occupancy, and that's because there are semi-private baths within the suites. So you're still limiting the number of people using a bathroom. And then Nordenberg and Holland are downsizing to only doubles and singles because of the square footage to rooms and the number of individuals using the communal bathrooms on each floor. So Bruce, we're still intending on keeping that the same for next year. So suites of 4 and 5 people, because it's limiting the number of people within the space and bathrooms, and the square footage is large enough to house that many people. And then Nordenberg and Holland are downsizing to doubles and singles due to the space provided for each student. So we want to make sure that we're not cramming people into rooms that we shouldn't be. Rachel asked, do we know when move-in will be for upcoming fall semester? At this time, we do not know when move-in will be. Typically, we say August is arrival, and I'm not sure what days that will be available or what the schedule looks like. And a typical rundown of what move-in looked like pre-COVID. It's amazing. It's incredible. Our students get so hyped. It's awesome because we are able to have volunteers help you move in and out of the building. The band does awesome shows in the quad. There's music, there's free ice cream. There's lots of stands set up for, the bookstore and Bed Bath & Beyond. And it's just like a really great overall feeling, and I miss it. I'm hoping that we can get as close to that as possible this upcoming year, but still be safe. And yes, so pre-COVID, families get to help you move in. During COVID, we only allowed 1 individual to go up into the hall with the student to help them move in, and we provide wristbands. But before COVID, the family members got a wristband, and you could go in and out of the building with the student to help them move into their room. Victoria asked, will towers be any different with COVID restrictions? As of this time, no. Towers A and B will still be doubles. Tower C will be singles. We had really great success with towers this year. And we're thinking that we're ready to go back to normal because of the number of cases and the way that the students stayed within the building and things like that. So CMRO said that towers can go back to being doubles. And another question came in about students adapting well to the city if they are not from a larger city and maybe from a smaller town. So I will say that RAs are awesome. Floors are awesome. So try to connect with your RA and your floor and other students in your building to try to find people with common interests with you, and then maybe take the time to explore the city, because I'm from Pittsburgh, and although it seems large, it actually feels pretty small compared to other places where, I can get from my neighborhood to Oakland in 5 minutes. And just because the buildings are larger and it might be a little bit more populated, it still has like that small town feel. But if you have any questions and you have concerns, maybe connect with PC, and I'd be happy to take 15 minutes, 30 minutes to talk to you about some other resources on campus too, if you're feeling a little bit nervous coming from a small town. Towers A and B are doubles. And I will cap this as my last question of the day to talk about security on campus. And then we will hop off of the call. And if you have any other questions, so please email PC or maybe join next week's Zoom session. But each of our residence halls on campus has a welcome attendant, which requires students to swipe their Panther card into the building every time that they are accessing the building. And only students who reside in that building have access to that building. And if you're trying to bring somebody in outside of that building, then we require you to sign in a guest. To get into your room, you have your ID card. So you'll swipe your ID card and you'll have a personalized PIN to actually get into your room. And then if you're within a suite, you'll actually have another door to get into your suite, which requires your Panther card and your PIN to get into there as well. And welcome attendants are at the buildings 24/7. Panther Central is also available 24/7 if you have any concerns. And then also Pitt Police are a great resource. And I have a colleague on this call as well, Amanda. If you have anything to add on as well I know that there is an opportunity for students who may be at like a friend's house in Oakland and they'll need a ride back to campus. If they don't feel comfortable taking an Uber, there is a resource for a number that they can call to actually get a ride back to campus without actually taking like an
Safe
Uber.
Rider?
Safe Rider, yeah. So we have that as an option as well for students who might not feel comfortable getting back to Oakland. Yeah.
They get up to 25 free rides a semester, and it's for places where the bus might have stopped running at night. I can drop information for Safe Rider in the chat. The university also offers the Rave Guardian app, and that essentially allows students to safely share their location with their parents or with their roommates, just to make them feel more comfortable. They can also call 911 or anonymously contact Pitt Police to the app. I can provide information on both of those in just a second in the chat.
Thank you for that. I want to thank everybody for joining the Zoom this evening. I hope it was useful and beneficial. And if anyone has any other follow-up questions, then feel free to contact Panther Central or even DM us on Facebook or Instagram. I do work with the team that goes over those messages as well to make sure our questions are being answered appropriately. And if anybody needs anything, to please reach out. But we are so excited to have our new first year class come in for the fall term. And please let us know if there's anything else that we can do for you. Have a good night.